Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video. Today we are taking a look at a PS3. This is a PS3 Frankenstein / Orbis console, so one of the 40 nanometers that I've done. As you see there, it powers on just fine, but if we look over here, I accidentally put the console in factory service mode when I was trying to remarry the Blu-ray. So as you guys know, that whole process, and I accidentally flashed the firmware update in factory service mode, which you're told you shouldn't, and we got red screen of death. So essentially what that means is my NAND is corrupted, and today we're gonna try to fix it. So there are a few ways, well, not really, there's two ways you can do it, well, one way to be exact. You have to pull the NAND. So these are the two tools that you can use. One is called the Flash Cat, which is this guy, with a TSOP 48 NAND reader on it. So as you see there, and it has a NAND chip, which is from another PS3 that I was testing it on. And then of course you have your standard, which is, I don't want to take it out of the bag, but a teensy, which is your usual PS3 stuff. Mine is hooked up with a whole bunch of stuff. So that's why you see it. It has the teensy board, NAND reader with the clip, nor isn't there. And then I got a 48 TSOP reader from AliExpress. I'll also link that if you guys want it, that I wired directly to the teensy using all those wires. And that also works. There is a bunch of software involved. So the difference between these two is teensy takes about 20-ish minutes to read one chip, and the Flash Cat takes about 8, so we're going to do the Flash Cat. But like I said, there's a bunch of software you need, so we'll go into all of that. The first thing we need to do is take this PS3 apart, write which chip is the top and bottom, because that does matter for your NAND 0 and NAND 1, and then we'll switch over to the computer side and get all of that going. So first, let's take this guy apart. Alrighty, so as we see here, we have our motherboard taken apart. 40 nanometer over there. So this is going to be a COK001 board. The way you can tell is if you look here, oops, sorry. If you look right there, it has a model written on it. So, where are we? Right there, COK001. So there are two places you need to look for your NAND, in case if, you know, this is all of our first times. And so there's one NAND chip right over here. So one on the top and one on the bottom right here. So one's next to the Blu-ray drive, and one is, I guess you would say, right next to the RSX. I will leave a link to everything that I do, and I will take you guys on the software journey, but this one should be top and the other one should be bottom. Alrighty, so I actually got it incorrect. This is our bottom, that's our top. I labeled it to make sure I remember which one is which. So basically, two options you have. You can use normal lead solder and just tin your points and lift it, or you can use something like this, which is ChipQuick SMD Reworks product. That's the model number, SMD SWLTLFP32, which is low melt solder. You can get it on Amazon, eBay, wherever. It comes in this tube, and they're basically strands that you pull one out. It's about this long, and you kind of just apply it on each side, and then theoretically, not theoretically, but the chip should come off a lot faster. So that's the route we're going to use. I did do the leaded route before, but why not go the safer if you're newer to this and use the low melt. So hopefully the camera doesn't overheat. I am having overheating issues with my Sony a7 IV. So labeling it's the easiest just because you won't lose track. I'm gonna apply some flux. As you guys see there. And basically, I'm gonna heat this up. Apply some low melt to it. Oops. You have to watch out for stuff like that. My solder iron is not cooperating today, but that's fine. We'll just take some flux to that. Here we go. Clean that up. We're gonna just run it along the side like so. So there are both chips. I already cleaned this chip, but this chip, as you see, has bridges. So all you need to do is hit it with some wick, right? That's it. Make sure there are no bridges or else your NAND read will not go too well. And you want to do the same for the other side. So gentle tap, sucks up all the wick, and we're good for both. So from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean them up. So from a hardware perspective, reading your NAND is pretty straightforward after you remove it. As you saw, we cleaned off the bridges. I just cleaned some isopropyl alcohol. All you need to do is look for this dot. On the NAND itself, there's also a dot, so it's right on the T. If I zoom in all the way, it's right over there. See, the dot corresponds to that dot. So all you need to do is press down, take your hand, place it in, let go, and we're good to go. That's all it takes, as in this part. Plug it in, and we're going to switch over to the laptop side. Alrighty, so there's a few things we'll need to do this. So I'll include all of it. There's going to be a program called PS3 downgrading files, which will have everything you need from reading your NAND, so reading your NAND and validating it, to patching it. We'll just need to worry about that, and then the QA flash, and of course the FCM, which you'll need for your USB. For the FlashCat, you'll be needing FlashCat build 585 with firmware 509 for the export, but you'll also need the latest version of FlashCat, or else you won't be able to install the driver, and that won't work. So once we plug in our FlashCat, I'm going to create a folder on my desktop to keep things clean, and we're going to call it PS3 RSOD, and we're going to open up FlashCat build 585, and you'll notice that it found it here. So in your mode, you want to make sure you're in parallel flash, NOR/NAND, and in protocol settings, you want to make sure you have it set to combined. If you have it segmented or separated, it won't work. And all you're going to do is hit that, hit this button, keep the length the same, choose that folder, and we're going to name this one PS3 NAND top 1. I'm going to do 2 reads for each. So we'll come back once it's done. Once again, it should take about 10-ish minutes. So now that you have your files dumped, this is top 1 and top 2. The 2 things I recommend is checking using an MD5 checker just to make sure that both match. So if I paste post here, as you see, our MD5s match, our sizes match. And then the second thing is if you have HXD, just open it up in there and make sure that there is content. So as you see, there's YYY, then there's like stuff here now. So that's how it should look. Starts with Y, ends with Y, content in between. And we're gonna do the same for the second one. Oop. It should look exactly the same. See? YYY at the end, YYY at the stop, content in between. So now we're gonna do the same thing for flash 2 or the bottom. You're gonna open up your FlashCat and do the same exact thing. So I'm just gonna unplug this for a second. You guys can't see me unplugging it, but you can hear it. We're gonna take off 1, put in 2, open it up, and there you go. Make sure that our protocol is still the same. Yep. And we're gonna click here, click there, click OK. Same exact thing. Go to desktop. PS3 red screen of death. We're gonna name this NAND bottom 1. Save and let it do its thing, and we'll do it 2 for this. We'll check the MD5 and the HXD to make sure that it all matches, and then we'll come back once it's done. Alright, so we have all of our NAND dumps here, 2 of each. So our next step is to open up the downgrader files folder, and we're going to go into NAND dump copies, and we're going to open Flow Rebuilder. And there is an easier way to do this that can do everything, but I think I'm going to do this route first just to make sure that everything's fine. So top is flash 0 and bottom is flash 1. So we're going to do top 1 and bottom 1, and then we're going to save it in that exact same folder, and we're just going to call it PS3 or RSOD interleaved. Save, execute, and you'll see that it's creating the file. And 0 bad blocks, so we should be good to go. Okay, so now that we have our interleave file, we're going to open up the downgrading folder, go to NAND, go to NAND up copies. We're going to check PS3 checker. Yes, is always going to do that. I already did it. We got bad, which is fine. Then we're going to go into, I believe it's NOR patcher, and we're going to patch it for... Alrighty, Shawn from the future here. Just wanted to clarify something here. I do go into it later, but basically If you're using a flash cat, you cannot do just 3.55. You will have to select the 4.0 just because you won't have a Tinsy, which means you cannot go into factory service mode or leave factory service mode, so it won't work. So if you're doing flash cat, do not do 3.55 FCM. You won't have a way to enter or leave without the Tinsy. For 3.55 FCM, oops, sorry, I accidentally closed it. Let's redo that. And as you see, PS3 RSOD interleaved underscore patch has been created. It is now this file. And if we check this file, this should give us a good check. As you see, it's okay, so we're good. And now we're gonna go back into Flow Builder, and we're gonna do rescramble the modified dump and de-interleave into 2 NAND flashes. We're going to search for all those files. So we need our patch file, which is now de-interleave patched. NAND dump 0, which is top 1. Top 1. And bottom 1. We're going to hit execute operation, and it's going to be creating our patched files that we now need to write back into the PS3. So you have 2 options when doing this. You can always do 3.55 FCM, which requires a few more steps, or you can always patch it to like a higher firmware or custom firmware, and then you bypass all of that. It depends on which route you want to go. We'll do the 3.55 and see if it works, and if not, it's okay. We'll do it the other way also. So as you can see, we modified 47 blocks, that's fine. We have our differential files and all of that. And basically now what we're looking for is, if we open up this folder bigger, you'll see that we have bottom 1 patch, which is the file we need to write back, and top 1 patch.bin, which we also need to write back. So to do that, I'm going to plug in my FlashCat with the bottom NAND still in there. And if we open up our FlashCat builder, we're going to click on it, and it should be as simple as it tells you. So write data to memory, erase all memory, compare memory contents, enable edit buffer. So we'll do write data to memory, and then we're going to select that file. So this is going to be bottom underscore 1 patched, since we're still on the bottom. That's fine, that's fine. We're gonna hit OK, and we're gonna let it write. Perhaps it'll take 8 minutes, but who knows. Alrighty, so we're back on the board, and this, remember, is the top side with the Blu-ray. So I want to clean off the old solder, reapply new solder, and hopefully we should be able to float this on, no issue. So this should be clean. Now I should be able to just put back on the top chip. So the way you want to correspond it is, remember your dot to your dot. So there's a dot top left right there, as you see. So the chip wants to go back with the dot on the dot. Alrighty, so we got our top soldered back on, and the same for the other side. Where am I looking? Right there. Our bottom soldered back on. So from here, all we should need to do is put this back in the case, and then we should technically get it to boot. So I'm gonna put it back in the case, and we'll give it a shot. Alrighty, so I retuned the points, and let's see. Think we're gonna get it. Pretty sure my NAND wasn't sitting too well. And I saw the screen flash. I think we're gonna get it. Okay, so it powered on and off. I think I need to put this flash drive in and enter service mode, I believe. Let's try that again. Alright, I just wanted to update the process. So essentially inside of the downgrading files there's a folder called FCM, and you actually need to use these. So you will need a TNC. I'll show you my TNC in a minute. You need to program it with this file, plug it into the most right port of your PS3, power it on, press eject, and it'll power off. Once it powers off, you need these get into FCM files. You put them in the root of a flash drive formatted FAT32, plug it into the rightmost flat USB port, let it do its thing. It'll take 5-ish minutes, it'll shut off. Delete those files from your flash drive, put this get out of FCM file into the root of flash drive, plug it in into the rightmost USB port, let it do its thing, it'll power off. Essentially, once it powers off, you should be good to go. Once again, that is my TNC. So I just bypassed everything and I put the file and plugged this into, so let's show you, into the most right USB port. This guy. Plug that in there. Press power. You'll see it do something, power off. Put the files in a flash drive, plug it in here. You'll see your flash drive blink, and then the status light here will blink, it'll power off. Put in the get out, same thing, plug it in, power it on, it'll do its thing, it'll power off. There will be a log in the flash drive in between the get into FCM and get out where you can read if the update was successful. And this is where I am right now. So console will power on, everything's good, lights blinking, and we are back in business. I believe we're on a custom firmware spoof that's 2.55, so I could probably upgrade to 4.89 without a problem. But as you see, we're on the Sony make-believe screen with all the fancy plug in your controller and all of that. So from here, what I want to do is I want to take this all apart, clean it up, and put it back together, and then we'll come back with the final process after that. Just because, as you can hear, fans are starting to go crazy because I didn't clean it or any of that. So let's do that next. Alrighty, so we got the console put all back together, and if we power it on, everything should be working fine. So let's just pan over to the screen. And there we go. So I believe we're on 4.21, but it's spoofed as 3.55. So if we go into system information, as we see there, 4.21. So from here, all we need to do is download or put into a flash drive formatted as FAT32, Ethernet 4.89. I plug that into my rightmost USB port, and we'll go into system update via storage media. As we see there, 4.89 Ethernet, and we'll just let it install this update. Alrighty, so there you have it, console booting up to 4.89. My fans are a little bit wonky, so I probably need to repaste this. But those are our temps, 74 and 49. As you see there, we're on 4.89. Console's going to keep running, it's just that our fans 42 with our CPU 74 and our RSX 50, so I'm just going to turn this guy off because it's kind of loud. But yeah, that's kind of the whole process. From start to end, that's what it's like fixing a console that either has a corrupted NAND or a red screen of death. So if you find that, you know, that's something you want to do, there's a process from removing the NAND to using a flash cat or a teensy, putting the NAND back on, updating it, factory service mode, updating to the latest custom firmware. As you saw, it's not really something, if you don't know how to micro solder or don't have a hot air wand or any of that stuff, you can really do without probably damaging your system. So yeah, if you thought this was useful, have any questions, comments, leave them down below. As always, like, comment, subscribe, that's always useful too. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you in the next video. And yes, I will reopen this console, repaste it, delid the cell, do all that fun stuff, and it'll be cool and quiet just like the rest of them. So yeah, thanks and see ya.